بلا شبہ پاکستان کو اللہ تعالیٰ نے بے تحاشا قدرتی وسائل اور خوبصورتی سے نوازا ہے. لوگ یہاں پہ سیر و تفریح کے لیے آتے ہیں.
I'm from Nepal.
And I'm from Germany.
So what was the main purpose of your visit to Pakistan?
Climate change and water insecurity.
The image of Pakistan in front of you people.
Lack of understanding and awareness, right? People are really lovely and the food is great and
Friendly to foreigners and especially also to foreign women like me, for example.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम. अस्सलाम वालेकुम. बागी टीवी के साथ मैं हूँ मलिक महातीर मोहम्मद. बिलाशुबा पाकिस्तान को अल्लाह ताला ने बेतहाशा कुदरती वसाइल और खूबसूरती से नवाजा है. दुनिया भर से नौजवान और मुख्तलिफ लोग यहाँ पे सैर व तफरीह के लिए आते हैं. इसी सिलसिले में आज हमारे साथ दो नौजवान मौजूद हैं. आइए उनसे जानते हैं कि उनका किस तरह का एक्सपीरियंस गुजरा पाकिस्तान में, क्या क्या उनके साथ तजर्बात हुए और उन्होंने किस तरह पाकिस्तान को पाया. हेलो, हाउ आर यू, व्हाट्स योर नेम?
Hi, I'm Rashtra Razbandari.
Hello, I'm Simone Weicheleder.
So where are you basically from?
I'm from Nepal.
And I'm from Germany.
So what was the main purpose of your visit to Pakistan?
Oh wow, that's a big question. So Simone and I work for the Himalayan Water Project, which is an interdisciplinary think tank based out of New York University in its campuses in Abu Dhabi and Shanghai. So basically it's an initiative that studies climate change and water insecurity and the manifold consequences that come out of that in the Himalayan region. And we're here to basically do a scoping meeting and a scoping mission where we try to understand some of the challenges in Pakistan as well as like see some of these issues firsthand.
So will you please point out those issues for us?
Many. Simone, do you want to start and I can...
Oh, you go ahead first, please.
Okay. I think throughout our time here, we've seen a number of issues. One, obviously, climate change and, like the impacts of that from the mountains, like the older mountain ranges in Pakistan and what that means for a number of things, including water, access to water, including loss of livelihood with the floods happening, including loss of culture, traditions, and what that means for people who live in this region. So I think that's been one part. Then the other part has also been in terms of the intersectionality of climate with things like waste management or drainage systems, right? So we've been in Lahore and there was a lot of rain, but the drainage isn't very good. So just like a lot of these things that are being caused because of climate. At the same time, I think I've been pleasantly surprised that it's not all negative and there's been a lot of really good success stories and solutions on the local level that are also so evident here that we don't really hear about outside. Things like the use of trees in a very strategic way to tackle pollution or like greenery as an urban space in Islamabad. So I think for us, or for me in particular, it's been very interesting to see like both sides of these dynamics. And I don't know if you want to add a couple of things there, but yeah.
Do you want to add?
Yeah, sure. I think it's very interesting because on the one hand, you see these issues we hear about from different experts or scholars or just like from friends of friends, basically. But on the other hand, then we also hear about the different possibilities and opportunities, how projects or different areas or industries actually can build up these resilience parts and how you actually work on climate resilience. So kind of putting that together and actually viewing these issues we hear about from rather an angle with solutions is pretty interesting. And I think that was something really, an angle we really wanted to take from the beginning when we arrived here, saying, okay, we don't want to focus on the issues and kind of showcase that, but rather on what solutions are there, what is, for example, climate resilience here, what projects are there. I think that was something that really was personally like from a personal perspective also interesting to me in these terms.
So how many cities you had been to?
In Pakistan?
Yes.
I want to say 2. So Islamabad and Lahore.
And surrounding areas.
And surrounding areas, but we also went to Rawalpindi, but I don't know if that's a separate city or not.
That's a separate city.
Okay, so my answer is 3.
So what are the similarities and differences between both the cities?
Wow. That's a big question. I think I can only respond in terms of first impressions, and I want to acknowledge that we don't live in the city and obviously would have somewhat of a biased perspectives as foreigners coming in and seeing particular sites, right? So having acknowledged that, I think in first glance, Islamabad to me was very green and lush and quiet, and it looked like a planned city with things in place. And it resembles a lot of other cities which have also been planned by urban planners. And I think Lahore has been a bit more intense and colorful and vibrant and too much going on. And I think what I anticipated cities to be and probably what resembles a bit more closely to other South Asian cities But that's only my first impression, and I think if I were to spend more time in this beautiful country and in these beautiful cities, I'd probably have a different opinion. I'm sorry, not to say that I prefer one or the other. I think both are very beautiful in their own regards, but I think the contrast is quite evident.
If you have to compare Lahore's foods with Islamabad,
I don't know.
So to be honest, we haven't been eating regularly, like specifically focusing on food. So I feel like asking us about the food might be a very critical path to go down.
Yeah.
I
mean, I think also, so in Islamabad, we were mostly by ourselves and doing things. So I think we struggled a bit, like knowing what the good restaurants are, or like what the food scene is. But in Lahore, we're staying with our really good friend from university, Muhammad Ali, and he's been taking us to all these like beautiful restaurants, not just in terms of food and view and ambience, but also in terms of like cultural heritage. So yesterday we went to this gorgeous restaurant in the evening. What is it called? Haveli, right? I think we went to Haveli, and I mean, it was just like so beautiful in terms of architecture, but history, the location and the people and the music they were playing. So I think like food for me has been like a very complete cultural experience here. So I think, like Simone said, it's probably
it's a well-renowned quote that Lahore, Lahore.
Okay.
So before coming to Pakistan, what was the image of Pakistan in front of you people?
Wow. Look, I think obviously there's multiple narratives of what the country is, and that's being portrayed by multiple interpretations, and I think those are shaped by political influences and spheres and a lot of lack of understanding and awareness, right? So I think for me it's been interesting because obviously on one hand, from popular media, you understand a certain sense of this country, but also I have a lot of really good friends here, and I think from their eyes, I've always seen there's more to this country than what's portrayed out there. And I also do quite a bit of work in Pakistan, so I knew it's relatively safe, and people are really lovely, and the food is great, and I think for me it wasn't as negative as maybe it is for other people, but I also think I've been so pleasantly surprised with everything, and I think it's been such a heartwarming and a very emotional and I think in a very good way. I think yeah.
So Simone, if you have to give remarks on the people here,
I would say they're very warm people, also very happy, and like living in this vibrant cultures, being so open and friendly to foreigners, and especially also to foreign women like me, for example. It was amazing to experience that, because I, for example, came directly from Germany, and you would really realize people who don't work in the region or have never been to Asia, for example, they would be like, oh, Pakistan, where are you going? Why are you going there? And I would, for example, know, oh, I have friends here. I know what they tell me about the country, even if I've never been here before. But it would just be such a difference, such a gap in terms of what people would understand of Pakistan, for example, and it's kind of sad to see. But I would say coming here and really getting to know the people was a great experience so far, and really eye-opening as well.
So what's your next plan, to visit any other city, or you have to go back?
So we go back to Islamabad because we're also here for a work trip, and so we still have a couple of meetings, and then we are unfortunately heading back. But I think, we've been talking, and we would love to come back and in a work capacity, and maybe go to Hunza and some of the mountains, so we actually get to see the mountains, because that's a big part of our research and our area of interest. And unfortunately, that was not something we could squeeze in this time.
So Simone, if you have a chance to visit the Pakistan again, then
definitely, I would definitely come back here, and also hope that I could actually stay a bit longer and really get to know the country a bit more in depth.
I'm very pleased to have both of you here. Sad Bismillah, Ji Ayanu, welcome to Pakistan. Thank you so much for having with us.
Yeah, no, thank you. And just wanted to say a very quick thing, because I'm also from Nepal and I speak a bit of Urdu, right? Like thoda.
Yes,
so I think because of that as well, I felt so much more welcome, because I can say a few words and get my way around. And I think that's just so beautiful to be able to speak the local language a bit, and really feel connected to the people.
So any last message for us?
Yeah, no, I think my message, and because we're also here to understand the climate crisis and what's happening in Pakistan, would be to really acknowledge and do a bit of research and understand and be aware of the climate crisis that's impacting all of us and is going to severely impact us moving forward. And I think identifying what the climate crisis means to each of us and identifying a way through which we can connect to nature and connect to the crisis that's happening around us, and hopefully finding solutions, because we all need to act on this crisis, all of us, and it is going to shape our lives, right? So I think that would be my last message.
Yeah, and I think connecting to that, my last message would mostly be, I think especially these solutions on the climate crisis are already like in our community, within our municipality, and often just like finding these and just trying, even if it is just a small community, if it's just a single person, is already a big step. So I think first of all acknowledging and then actually just trying to be like a small change is something that everyone should keep in mind, more or less. Thank you so much.
Please elaborate about the transportation system in Pakistan. Do you like, or give some reviews on it?
Yeah, no, look, that's a really good question. So thanks for thinking through that question. The transportation system is essentially a big component of the climate crisis, right? I think it's around 22% of global greenhouse gas emissions, and it plays a big role in decarbonizing our world, and it's often overlooked. However, at the same time, it's a very interesting sector because there's a lot of technology that's already out there in terms of decarbonizing the transport sector. So I think under that premise, it's been very interesting to come here and see what the system looks like. It's very interesting in terms of the type of vehicles you see in the road, like the old Suzukis to the new big Hiluxes, which seem to be very like needed in this region. Also, like a lot of motorbikes look the same here, which I found in particular very fascinating, just to like follow these, and to more sort of outside of passenger vehicles to more like freight, right, like trucks. And I'm sure like a lot of people talk about how beautifully painted the trucks are and things. So I think there is a landscape of transportation services that are being provided. However, it doesn't seem like the electric vehicle penetration is very high. For example, I've seen some Toyota Priuses and some hybrid cars, but I think that could be a really good opportunity in the country. Also, given the energy crisis and, you know, like the expense in importing fossil fuel and petrol and the way the world is moving towards electric vehicles and stuff. So I think that was one of the things that was like a first impression of mine. But I think overall, look, I mean, I think the roads are developed, like from at least in the cities that we've been to, the transportation system looks fine, and I think I'm not an expert on like the efficacy of that and things, but I think my first impressions were there's probably some space for electric vehicles and for some of these old vehicles and polluting vehicles to transition out. But Simon, if you think something on that.
Yeah, maybe let me just, because I come from Germany, right? And Germany's, especially Bavaria, is like a big car hub, more or less, in terms of manufacturing, but also infrastructure. And I found it amazing when we arrived here, and that's basically the first thing you do. You drive from the airport up to Islamabad to your hotel, right? And just the roads were huge and green and broad, and then coming down to Lahore, just basically having these small snapshots of how your roads in these very developed areas obviously are. I was really positively surprised because that obviously offers a lot of potential for for like efficient usage of transportation in a way, because you can just go straight in these huge roads. You don't have like huge traffic jams basically like in other parts of that region here. So I was amazed by it personally.
One more question for both of you guys. Tell me more about your hobbies and things like that.
Like a lot of things. I think outside of work, which takes most of my priority, I love cycling, which is really, really fun. And I'm Nepali, so we have a lot of mountain biking trails. So I love mountain biking and I spend a lot of time doing that. I'm also really interested in running and just anything that takes me outdoors into nature. And that's because it's not just an adrenaline fitness thing for me, but also a really safe space where I can connect to nature and be vulnerable and just, you know, be emotional about it. And I think I'm very, very interested to find that spiritual connection with my hobbies and like just being in nature is a very profound way for me to do that. And I think that's been really helpful in Pakistan as well, because we actually did a hike from one of these villages up, like trail number 3, I think, in Islamabad, and it was just beautiful. So yeah, I think most of my hobbies relate to being outdoors in the nature, mostly cycling or running.
So I think for me it's mostly photography. Like I love taking pictures of people, of culture, like a lot of street photography, and also a lot of photography during trekking. So that's basically my second main hobby, like going trekking and trail running. And as Rasta already said, like being in the hills around Islamabad was also so nice. Just on our second or third day, randomly going up a trail and seeing how the surrounding and the nature is there. So I think that's also something I experienced or that puts Pakistan in a very positive light for me, that you have so much green around you, which is nature basically.
I'm very pleased to have both of you here. Sad Bismillah, Ji Ayanu, welcome to Pakistan. That's all from my side. Stay blessed, have a nice day. Keep watching Baaghi TV. Allah Hafiz.